I want to stress that the Chinese government resolutely bans and cracks down on any form of hacking acts. This position is consistent and clear. Hacking attacks are a joint problem faced by the international community and need to be dealt with cooperatively rather than via mutual censure.
Well, things have gone from bad to worse for Cambodia's political opposition. With elections just around the corner, the leader of the Cambodia National Rescue Party is behind bars, and they've been banned from running. And now it's emerged they may have been the target of hackers linked to China. An investigation by U.S. security firm FireEye accuses a group of cyber spies tied to Beijing of going after the opposition CNRP. That includes its jailed leader, Kem Sokha, and his daughter. China denies any involvement, but not everyone's convinced, considering the country's close ties with the Cambodian Prime Minister, Hun Sen. Well, let's speak to the man behind the report. Ben Reed is a senior manager of cyber espionage analysis at FireEye. Ben, good to have you on the show. Now, your report says that Chinese hackers were mostly engaged in gathering and downloading information. Is it just information that the Chinese are looking for, or do you have any hard evidence that they're trying to meddle in the upcoming elections?
So we don't have hard evidence of that. We did our report because we were able to uncover that multiple computers belonging to the Cambodian government and specifically the National Election Commission were compromised. We don't know what the end goal would have been with those compromises. We just know that it was sort of a widespread compromise in advance of the elections.
But there is also stated in your report that they also wanted to get information from the opposition as well.
That's correct.
Okay, so then we can't actually draw any definitive conclusions in the sense that they wanted to sort of target the current incumbent ruling party then.
They were targeting really a full swath of Cambodian society, opposition, current government, and the election commission. So it was really showed that China had a really high interest into what was going to happen in these elections.
Why do you think the Chinese are after information in Cambodia with regards to the upcoming elections?
Cambodia is a key partner of China in Southeast Asia, and in particular within ASEAN, often supports is friendly to the Chinese view of the South China Sea dispute and things like that. So it would make sense that China would be interested in what was going to happen in the upcoming July elections, but especially following what happened, the surprise result of the Malaysian elections recently.
Okay, fair enough. But the reality is that in Cambodia, the country is lacking sort of an effective opposition. The country's prime minister is pro-Beijing and is poised to clinch pretty much an uncontested election victory. So why would the Chinese have any sort of extra interest in these elections?
So the Chinese pattern, especially in East and Southeast Asia, has really been to get as much information as they can about governments, society, businesses. So even while from the outside it may seem like the election may seem like not much of an actual contest, it still is consistent with previous Chinese actions to try to gather a lot of information on it.
Okay, fair enough. Ben, thank you very much for sharing some insight on that report. Let's broaden out this discussion. We're now joined by Monovithya Kem. She's the Deputy Director General of the Cambodia National Rescue Party, as well as the daughter of jailed opposition leader Kem Sokha. She claims to be the victim of this hacking. And in Beijing, we have Qinduo. He's a political analyst specializing in Chinese affairs. Qinduo, let me start off with you. Ben said that the Chinese are trying to gather up as much information as possible. Is it fair to say that these compromises that we're seeing in Cambodia sort of fit the overall mission objective of Chinese espionage in the sense that they're trying to gather up information in general?
No, obviously. I don't understand, a software security company also understand the geopolitical stuff, and also they are paying close attention to the Chinese hackers or to the security of the computers of the Cambodian government, as well as that of those opposition parties. Of course, they have investment from CIA, so they are serving the CIA very well, serving the purpose of the United States very well. Well, Cambodia is considered in the United States as not really a normal country somehow, and the U.S. is asking for the war debts, and because of Cambodia's pro-China position. It is often criticized in the U.S. media, I guess, in the U.S. security company like this one. So no, of course, if China wants to get any information, they can make a phone call to the Prime Minister Hun Sen, and they will get everything.
Okay. Monovithya, let me ask you, you said that you were one of the targets of these Chinese hackers. How did you become aware of this?
I received a phishing email, and then I sent to someone who later sent to FireEye. And that's when they found out who the hacking group was.
Okay. Qinduo, let me turn back to you. Ben, our previous guest, said that sort of China has was keeping a closer eye on countries in the region, especially after the election results that we saw in Malaysia. Is China concerned about what happens in regional countries in terms of their approach to China?
Well, first of all, let me give you some explanation. The Chinese, we follow a principle called like non-intervention of domestic affairs, especially when it comes to the elections of another country. Look, if China has any intention to intervene, it would have intervened in the Sri Lanka election a couple of years ago, or the Malaysian election. Because against Sri Lanka, there was a pro-Chinese China government, and then you have a government which is very much against China. And in Malaysia, of course, you have also a problem too with the new government, at least on the surface. But now in Cambodia, it's an uncontested election, and Hun Sen is going to win like 100%. What is the purpose of doing that? Only stupid people would believe that's a Chinese interference, right?
You say that, though, but China has a lot to lose. It's the biggest sort of investor in the country. It requires the diplomatic backing of China with regards to many regional disputes. So it is critical for China to have Cambodia's support.
No, China is not going to lose whoever in the government, whoever runs the country of Cambodia, because China regards Cambodia as an equal party and view its relationship with Cambodia as on the equal footing. We are friendly nations. China will do whatever it can to help Cambodia, and it's the same. It's a mutual feeling from Cambodia. Either Hun Sen or any other party from the opposition, from any political parties in Cambodia, because China does not interfere with their domestic politics. It's Cambodian people who will decide the future of the country, not the Chinese.
Okay, Monovithya, let me turn to you. Our guest from Beijing is saying that China does not interfere. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I believe the integrity of the Cambodia election has been lost already for the fact that the leader is imprisoned and the fact that the opposition has been banned. However, it's very disturbing to know that a foreign entity is monitoring us, whether it's our government agencies, us meaning the opposition, or some of the other institutions in Cambodia, for example, the National Election Committee. It is indeed still disturbing. I am not making accusation. What's the purpose? I don't know what the purpose is, but it's indeed still disturbing that we are being watched, being monitored by a foreign entity.
Okay.
And actually, I was a little surprised. Initially, when I saw the phishing email, I thought that came from the Cambodian ruling party, frankly.
Okay. Monovithya, let me ask you, do you feel that because of China's influence in Cambodia, that the government is sort of downplaying sort of the negative effects and trying to concentrate on the positive ones?
I think for the Cambodian people ourselves, we see what is happening in Cambodia for the last several years, especially in the last year. So I believe the propaganda that's coming from the Cambodian ruling party does not work. And whichever country, whether it's China, whether it's any country in the region or any country in the West, if they take a stand that against the stand of the Cambodian people, naturally they will not be liked by the Cambodian public.
Okay, so Qinduo, let me turn to you. How important is it for China to have the support of regional countries, especially when it comes to sort of contentious issues like the South China Sea?
Well, it has little to do with the South China Sea. It's really about the relationship between China and Cambodia. We enjoy a friendly relationship between the two countries. China enjoys, a strong relationship not only with Cambodia, with regional countries like with Myanmar, with Pakistan, with Malaysia, and with the Philippines. In all those countries, we would like to have a stable and a strong relationship with them because we are neighbors. We can never somehow become, non-neighbors. So you cannot change your neighbors. And for China, of course, we would like to have a peaceful environment because China needs to focus on its own domestic development, economic development. So is Cambodia. So is Malaysia. So is Myanmar and other countries. Asian countries would like to have a peaceful environment. It's the Western countries, it's the United States who are sending warships, who are sending basically all kinds of air planes over to the South China Sea. If you look at China and the South China Sea neighbors countries over there, it has been peaceful for the past, basically the whole year. But it is the U.S. warship that will break the peace every time they start the so-called freedom of navigation tours over there.
Monovithya Kem, let me ask you, the opposition has called for a boycott in these upcoming elections. Does anything come good out of calling for a boycott? What is the opposition sort of expectations from these elections if you're calling for a boycott?
This is not exactly a boycott. We, the opposition, has been banned from the election, so we are not in it. We are not boycotting, but we are actually been forced out of the election. However, we believe that the Cambodian people who are supporting change, who want change, and who have been supporting the opposition will not go to vote. And what we are calling for is that for the authority, for the people, and for the people of Cambodia to be able to exercise their right to not go to vote, because according to Cambodian law, voting is not compulsory. So this is exactly a boycott. This is a matter of people able to use their right. They are not happy, they are discontent with this sham election, therefore they will stay home and not go to vote.
Okay. Monovithya Kem and Qinduo joining us live here on the Newsmakers. Thank you very much.